Welcome to Hero Villains. What do you think about Maestro versus Sentry, two beings whose very existence is a challenge to the natural order? On one side, we have the perfect Sentry, the embodiment of a cosmic paradox, a being wielding the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, an immortal god shackled by his own fragile mind and serving as the prison for a dark spectral entity known as the Void the Sentry. On the other side, we have the Destroyer, the master of the survival game, a cosmic entity possessing unparalleled power and the intellect of a strategist who has existed for millennia, the one who once broke the will of the Hulk himself and turned the entire Earth into a brutal arena, Maestro. When the power of 1,000,000 suns confronts the power of absolute survival, when inner madness clashes with cold, conquering will, who will draw first blood? Maestro is essentially a future version of the Hulk, emerging in a timeline where nuclear war has annihilated nearly all superheroes. That catastrophe not only turned the world into a desolate wasteland, but also saturated the entire planet with gamma radiation. While countless people perished from the fallout, Maestro absorbed this energy source and became more powerful than ever before. The immense loss of witnessing his loved ones die one by one gradually drove his mind into insanity, transforming a hero who once protected humanity into a ruthless and emotionless tyrant. Maestro built a colossal palace in the middle of dystopia and placed himself on the throne of absolute domination. He indulged in a life of luxury with every privilege, while the people outside suffered from starvation and poverty, struggling every day just to survive amid the war-ravaged land. With no superheroes left powerful enough to rise against him, Maestro freely plundered everything he desired and imposed his will upon all the living. Absolute power led him to believe that he was the final ruler of the world. In terms of strength, Maestro is considered to far surpass the Hulk in his normal state. When a group of freedom fighters brought a past version of the Hulk to dystopia in the hope of changing history, they believed this would be the one who could end Maestro's tyrannical reign. However, the reality turned out to be the complete opposite. In their very first confrontation, Maestro quickly overpowered the Hulk and snapped his neck, rendering him completely unable to resist and leaving him in a state of paralysis. Maestro then took the Hulk to his palace and committed a deeply sadistic act to humiliate his opponent. He ordered a female slave to force herself on the Hulk while he was utterly helpless, viewing this as a way to break the will of his past self. At the same time, Maestro constantly tried to convince the Hulk to abandon all hope and stay in dystopia to rule the world alongside him. One of Maestro's most haunting lines perfectly captures the full extent of his tragedy and corruption. He coldly declared that eventually everything would be taken away until a person had no one left and nothing else to lose. It was this twisted belief that shaped Maestro's merciless philosophy of domination. Besides his terrifying strength, Maestro also possesses an exceptionally sharp intellect and strategic mind. He thoroughly understood the Hulk's healing factor, but also knew that a broken neck could not recover in a short period of time. The Hulk attempted to exploit his opponent's overconfidence, deliberately concealing the true speed of his recovery in order to secretly help the freedom fighters infiltrate the palace. However, Maestro had already anticipated the entire plan. He had prepared a gun built by the mutant Forge and used it to subdue the Hulk, proving that he was always many steps ahead of his adversary before Maestro callously murdered an aged Rick Jones right in front of the Hulk's eyes. He then defeated the Hulk once again and prepared to finish his opponent off to completely eliminate any remaining threat. Yet, like so many other supervillains, Maestro made a fatal mistake by becoming too confident in his victory. He spent too much time monologuing and mocking the Hulk, inadvertently creating an opportunity for a counterattack. The Hulk cleverly tricked Maestro into stepping onto the time machine, sending him back to the exact moment the nuclear bomb detonated the very explosion that created Maestro in the future. Despite possessing strength far exceeding the Hulk's, Maestro could not withstand the devastating force of standing directly at ground zero of the blast. He had once defeated nearly the entire Avengers roster along with countless powerful supervillains, and then continued nurturing the ambition to expand his dominion to other worlds. The trophy collection displayed within Maestro's palace serves as the clearest testament to the resounding victories he achieved. Each item represents a hero or a legendary adversary who once fell at his hands. The most notable pieces are Thor's Mjolnir, Wolverine's adamantium skeleton, Iron Man's helmet, Captain America's iconic shield, Doctor Strange's cloak, and Magneto's helmet. These artifacts are not merely displayed as decorations. They are an arrogant declaration that no one, not even the most powerful symbols of hope, could stand against him. In essence, Maestro still possesses all the familiar abilities of the Hulk, but every aspect has been amplified to a vastly superior level. After more than a century of continuously absorbing the enormous radiation resulting from the nuclear wars that ravaged Earth, his physical strength, durability, healing factor, and gamma energy levels far exceed most versions of the Hulk ever seen. Even the modern-day Hulk once speculated that Maestro's insanity helped unleash the full potential of his restrained power, turning him into an almost unstoppable entity. It is precisely the combination of boundless rage and gamma energy accumulated over an extremely long period that created a terrifying adversary who operates far beyond the normal limits of the Hulk. Maestro has also demonstrated rare psychic abilities. He can see and interact with the astral forms of the Hulk, an ability once showcased in Time's The Defenders Time series. This suggests that Maestro's gamma power has evolved to the point of affecting layers of existence beyond the physical world. At the same time, he retains the genius-level intellect of Bruce Banner. However, instead of directly applying his technical expertise in every situation, Maestro often chooses to manipulate others to achieve his goals. A prime example is how he exploited Miguel O'Hara to repair the time machine for him, understanding that controlling others to act is always safer and more efficient than risking himself. The combination of overwhelming power, genius, intellect, and psychological manipulation has transformed Maestro into one of the most dangerous and fearsome versions of the Hulk ever to exist. But, unlike the Hulk, Maestro possesses the ability to consciously control and sustain his anger at a high level, turning it into a stable source of energy rather than a temporary outburst. He has defeated all the surviving superheroes and villains in his future timeline, including extremely powerful entities. He easily overpowered and broke the back of Colossus, a mutant who can transform his body into super durable organic steel. He beat down the Thing, a rock-skinned creature with strength on par with the Hulk's early days. A classic testament to his power is that he took Captain America's supposedly indestructible vibranium shield and crushed it with his bare hands. This is a feat of pure physical strength that almost no other being could accomplish, as it requires an impact force that surpasses the molecular limits of the cosmic metal. His regenerative ability is so rapid that he can recover from nearly fatal wounds in mere seconds. He was once slashed through the body by Wolverine, who possesses the sharpest adamantium claws, and the wound healed almost instantly without leaving a scar. The combination of extraordinary durability, radiation resistance, and accelerated self-healing makes Maestro virtually immortal in any prolonged physical battle. I really hope you'll subscribe to the channel. It would help us out a lot, and you are the most amazing person. Thank you so much. Now let's talk about Sentry and the power of a million suns. As we know, Robert Reynolds is a failed middle-aged man, a lost soul who turned to alcohol and drugs to escape reality. On one fateful night, his craving led him to break into a top-secret laboratory, where leading scientists were attempting to replicate and surpass the super soldier formula. They had created a serum designed not merely to reach the peak of human potential, but to transcend the very concept of potential itself. Robert Reynolds drank that serum, and in an instant, the connection between him and reality was permanently warped. His body became a conduit to a dimension of infinite energy, transforming him into a being with the power equivalent to a million exploding sun. Sentry once had one of his most memorable showdowns when he directly clashed with Blue Marvel and ultimately emerged victorious after an incredibly fierce battle. The course of the fight was far from what many fans had anticipated, as both relentlessly unleashed massively destructive attacks, and neither was willing to back down. Although the circumstances of the match still sparked debate regarding fairness, the final result is more than enough to affirm Sentry's astonishing caliber. Blue Marvel, as his title suggests, has long been ranked among Earth's defenders, possessing power that far surpasses most other heroes. He has achieved many extraordinary extraordinary feats against cosmic-level adversaries such as King Hyperion and even Galactus. Beyond his remarkable physical strength, Blue Marvel also possesses a genius-level intellect and exceptionally brilliant tactical analysis skill. According to a simulation by Reed Richards, Adam could beat Dr. Doom in at least 3 out of 5 games of chess, reflecting his rare capacity for calculation and strategic thinking. For this very reason, Sentry's victory over such a well-rounded opponent as Blue Marvel makes this achievement all the more valuable and highly regarded. Another of Sentry's feats that sent shockwaves through the community was his defeat of Molecule Man. Owen Reese has long been considered one of the most terrifying matter-manipulating entities in Marvel, having repeatedly demonstrated the power to alter the very structure of reality. As such, this outcome stunned countless readers and sparked endless, prolonged debates. However, it should be noted that at the time of their confrontation, Molecule Man was not in a stable mental or emotional state. This instability very likely impaired his ability to control his power, preventing him from unleashing his full potential. Sentry has also faced Galactus alone, the cosmic entity famous for devouring planets to sustain his existence. Before the battle took place, Spider-Man even remarked that the two could produce a balanced fight, showing how highly he rated Sentry's power. Unfortunately, the main events of the clash all occurred off-panel, so there are no detailed illustrations documenting every exchange. Even so, the mere fact that Sentry was capable of standing alone against Galactus and was considered a worthy opponent reflects the enormous scale of his power. In his confrontation with Ultron, Sentry completely dominated his adversary, treating the War Machine as nothing more than a puppet incapable of resisting. He repeatedly slammed Ultron with devastating blows, nearly tearing his head off while casually swatting Wonder Man away in the same motion. Another of his impressive feats was overloading the Absorbing Man's energy absorption ability. This is an adversary famous for his power to copy and absorb countless different forms of strength. Previously, Absorbing Man had absorbed the Odin Force and even the divine power of Thor through Mjolnir. However, the energy Sentry unleashed exceeded his opponent's tolerance limit, rendering his absorption ability completely ineffective. Sentry also created one of the most shocking moments in Marvel history when he ripped Ares, the Olympian god of war, in half. It was a display of such brutal power that it is considered one of the bloodiest combat scenes involving the character. Not stopping there, Sentry also easily defeated the Thing, overpowered Terex, the former herald who once served Galactus, and simultaneously destroyed the head of Ymir, the progenitor and most powerful frost giant. This string of consecutive victories against adversaries possessing mythical and cosmic power firmly established Sentry's exceptional status. He has repeatedly left Doctor Strange in a stunned state during combat, a rare feat when facing one of the most powerful sorcerers on Earth. Even more remarkably, Sentry once performed an almost unthinkable act by making the entire population of the planet forget his existence in order to prevent the Void's return. This effect influenced even powerful psychics and masters of the mystical arts such as Professor X and Doctor Strange. Sentry's regenerative ability is also terrifying. He instantly reconstituted his body after being reduced to nothingness by Molecule Man. In another event, Morgan Le Fay dispersed his body at the molecular level, but Sentry still quickly returned with virtually no lasting damage. This regenerative power makes completely destroying Sentry an extremely difficult task, even for entities possessing matter, manipulation, or magic at a very high level. Sentry has also resisted the combined psychic power of Professor X and Emma Frost, two of the most exceptional telepaths on Earth. Despite enduring immense mental pressure, he was still capable of maintaining his will and continuing to fight. Sentry has also repeatedly survived or withstood attacks from a series of powerhouses such as Thor, Hercules, Hulk, Black Bolt, Red Hulk, Ultron, Blue Marvel, She-Hulk, and even the Void, the dark entity intrinsically linked to his own power. These continuous feats against opponents across various tiers have cemented Sentry's reputation as one of the mightiest and most dangerous warriors ever to appear. Void Sentry is the dark embodiment of Sentry, an entity possessing destructive power. power. When this personality completely takes control of the body, it has no restraint whatsoever and is ready to use its full power to annihilate anything in its path. One of the clearest demonstrations was its confrontation with the Hulk. Void Sentry completely overwhelmed its opponent, relentlessly delivering such savage blows that it shattered nearly every bone in the Hulk's body, rendering him completely unable to fight. Void Sentry's power was further demonstrated when it took down a Super Skrull with just 2 punches. On another occasion, it simultaneously swatted Black Bolt and the Human Torch out of the sky, showing absolute dominance over 2 warriors possessing unique powers. Beta Ray Bill also nearly lost his life after facing Void Sentry. Subsequently, it went on to defeat the entire Avengers roster, including Thor and Captain Marvel, who were considered Earth's most powerful fighting force. Loki could offer no resistance either, as Void Sentry slaughtered and then completely disintegrated him. Not long after, it razed the Golden City to the ground with its massive destructive power. Void Sentry also directly withstood the power of the Norn Stones before destroying the Invisible Woman's force fields with sheer physical strength. In a large-scale battle, Void Sentry used a multitude of energy tendrils to simultaneously overwhelm a coalition force consisting of the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, the Inhumans, and the New Avengers. Possessing not only physically destructive power, Void Sentry is also a terrifying threat to the minds of its opponents. It easily broke the will of Spider-Man and the Hulk by forcing them to relive their most painful memories and horrific nightmares. This psychic assault plunged its adversaries into a state of despair even before the fight was over. And now, let's get into the direct comparison and battle analysis. First, many will rush to claim Sentry is stronger because of his power of 1,000,000 suns. But Maestro's strength is not just about muscle. It is muscle multiplied by rage and controlled by a tyrannical will. His base power is already at the pinnacle of the Hulk's, and it continues to rise without end. The battle between Sentry and World War Hulk, a version of the Hulk that is far weaker and less intelligent than Maestro, ended in a draw. That gives us a solid basis to believe that the physical strength of Maestro and Sentry is very, very close. This is not a one-sided fight in terms of power. This will be a maddening slugfest, where every punch carries the destructive force of a planetary collision, and both will bleed. Sentry might be slightly faster, but Maestro possesses the endurance and durability forged over centuries in a nuclear hellscape. And once again, the psychological factor. Sentry's opponent is not a psychic tyrant. He is a physical and strategic tyrant whose mind is completely immune to any form of psychological manipulation. Sentry or the Void might unleash. Maestro has no fear. He has no insecurity. He has no remorse. He is a block of ice. You cannot psychologically assault a storm. You can only try to survive it. Sentry's telepathic attack capabilities, however powerful, will be useless against a will forged into steel like Maestro's. He will not be intimidated by the Void. He will analyze it. Conversely, Sentry's mind is an open battlefield for Maestro. Maestro is a master of psychological warfare. He will not need psychic powers. With just his genius intellect and razor-sharp tongue, he will dissect Robert Reynolds' psyche right in the midst of combat. He will not whisper, he will roar brutal truths. He will mock Robert's weakness, calling him a junkie, an accident, a coward who dares not face himself. He will exploit Sentry's greatest fear, the fear that the Void will rise and destroy everything. While Sentry is struggling to quell the inner chaos caused by Maestro's very words, he will be distracted. And in a battle between beings physically matched in power, a moment of distraction is a fatal opening. Because he knows that when the Void rises, Robert Reynolds, the remaining shred of humanity and the control center of the power, will be pushed back. Sentry is an entity of light, controlled by a fragile mind. The Void is an entity of darkness driven by pure destruction. Maestro, with Banner's brain, will understand that the Void is a wild beast with no real combat skills, no strategy, only blind, destructive power. Instantly, the battlefield changes. It is no longer a fight against a conflicted god of light. Now, it is a fight against a dark, chaotic nightmare. And Maestro, who has survived and thrived in chaos for centuries, will be right in his element. He will not try to control the Void. He will manipulate it, luring it into traps, using the environment and his intellect against the Void's undirected destructive power. The Void is powerful, but it is merely a whirlwind. Maestro is a thinking fortress. And finally, when the Void has expended enough energy in its futile frenzy, Maestro will deliver the finishing blow, the fight. Sentry lunges forward at speeds, surpassing light, throwing a punch that distorts space. Maestro tanks it, his body cratering deep into the earth, but he laughs. He begins to speak, his gravelly voice dripping with sarcasm, mocking Robert Reynolds as a firefly with the ego of a god. They trade horrific blows, leveling the landscape around them. Sentry dominates in speed, but each of his punches only seems to excite Maestro more. Maestro, with his cunning, realizes he doesn't need to defeat Sentry physically. He needs to defeat Robert Reynolds. He begins to exploit his psyche, bringing up how Sentry wiped everyone's memories, how he is a coward, how his wife was terrified of him. Sentry roars, trying to drown it out, but the words are like daggers stabbing into his already unstable mind. Robert Reynolds loses control. The golden light flickers out, and the Void rises, a twisted shadow with tendrils and destructive energy. Void attacks Maestro with pure destructive force. It is stronger, faster, and far more terrifying than Sentry. But it is also dumber. Maestro, though heavily wounded, smiles. He has achieved what he wanted. He is no longer fighting a thinking being. He is fighting a beast. With his cunning and extraordinary endurance, he dodges and parries, luring the Void into expending its energy on futile attack. He uses the environment, baiting the Void into charging through traps, demolishing structures that collapse onto its head. After a long and brutal battle, the Void begins to weaken, and that is the moment Maestro delivers the finishing blow. A single punch, carrying all the strength, ruthlessness, and conquering will of a tyrant who has survived everything. Maestro wins. This is not an easy victory, but it is an almost certain one when we analyze deeply the nature of the two opponents. And that is our analysis of the battle between the Perfect Sentry and the Ultimate Destroyer. Let us know your thoughts by commenting down below. Do you side with the power of a million suns, or the power of absolute survival? If you enjoy in-depth and dramatic analyses like this, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any other epic showdowns. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again in the next battles. That's today's video. Thank you so much.